Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Smith. Welcome to L Day of the ABCs of Kidtown. Today we're going to read the book The Lorax, which is a great way for us to discuss Earth Day, which is coming up next week. And on Earth Day, we remind ourselves of all the things that we need to do to keep the earth healthy and clean for us to live in for a very, very long time. So we'll talk about that after we read The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing, excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. Ooh, I would not want to live there. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there, and why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. So here's the Onceler's house. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in the lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffered moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. I wonder why it's called the Onceler. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather's snail. I love Dr. Seuss. And then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snoove, his secret strange hole in his groovulous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper-mophone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Hole in his glove. Slump. Down slumps the whisper-mophone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since you have to come down through a snurgelly hose, and he sounds if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he said, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swami swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. Oh gosh, I would love to go there. How bright and cheery. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. Oh, but those trees, those truffula trees. All my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh buttery butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. I don't like that there's an axe coming out. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. That is a thneed. I wonder what a thneed is. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. I wonder what he's going to say. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax, excuse me. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees, for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I just chopped one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's to find something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. Now, if everybody already has socks and gloves and hats and shirts, why do we need a thneed? But the very next minute, I was proved he was wrong, for just at that minute, a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor silly guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. Some people just like to buy things, even though they don't need them. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shush up, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts and I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty, mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, a sharp right at South Stitch. So, let's think about what the Onceler really wants. Does he really want to help people out, or does he just want to make some money? And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now, chopping one tree at a time was too slow, so I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees in one smacker. Now, we have to think about, too, these are trees, right? And trees give off oxygen, right? And that's something that we need. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before. And that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. That's what the Lorax is. Oh, but the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go around. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. So now these poor animals are being affected. And that's what happens in real life, too, when they cut down too many trees. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. That does not sound like he cares too much about other people, right? All he cares about is money. That's not okay. I meant no harm. I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my rows. I biggered my wagons. I biggered the loads. Of the needs I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering and selling more needs. I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again, he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He snargled. He sniffed. That sounds like he might be getting sick. And I can see here that there's lots of pollution that's coming out of his factory, and that might be why he's getting sick. Onceler, he cried with a crofulous croak. Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swami swans, why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. That's not good. All for these needs that nobody needs. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I am sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making glumpity-glump, also schloppity-schlop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you. You dirty old onceler man, you. Now this happens too. Factories and things will make waste and they end up in the water and the oceans and the lakes, and they pollute the water. So not only the air, but the water as well. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. So now the fish are leaving. Oh my goodness, this is so sad. This makes me very unhappy. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffle trees into needs, which everyone needs, which is not true. So I bet you can see what's going to happen here, right? And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffle tree of them all. So look at that beautiful forest that was there before is now an empty field with lots of smoke and dirt and pollution. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. So it didn't end very well for him. Nor the earth. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the word unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. So he knew he did the wrong thing, right? But he's not quite sure how to fix that. So I wonder why this says unless. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So people need to care, right? And that means all of us. So, catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. That's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. So I love how that ends. Yeah. So it's hope with one little seed that they could bring back all those beautiful truffula trees. So in real life, those things are happening too. Even though people have made our earth dirty and we've created trash that we're having a hard time getting rid of, there's still people that are working really hard to figure out how to solve these problems. So while those scientists and world leaders try and figure that out, there's things that we can do to make sure that we take care of the earth. And it's called the 3 R's, which are reduce, reuse, and recycle. I'm sure you've probably heard those before. So here's some examples. So reduce. So reduce means to not do as much of. So instead of getting in your car and making pollution, you can reduce how much you're using your car and walk and ride your bike instead. You can make sure you turn off the lights when you've left a room, turn off the water, and also buy less. So what I do is that instead of buying lots of plastic things in plastic bottles, we have tried really hard to only buy things that maybe come in paper. So I know that this cardboard, so this is laundry detergent. So instead of buying those really big plastic ones that take a really long time to break down and they end up in the oceans and things, I try to buy cardboard things. So I know that this paper is gonna either could be reused or it can break down a lot quicker than plastic can. So, and then reuse. So just like we do at school, we use our water bottles. So instead of using plastic bottles, we use our water bottles, and we're using them all the time. You can try to use grocery bags at the grocery store, so don't get plastic. Just bring your bags when you go to get your groceries. And then the third one is recycle. So there's lots of ways you can recycle, and I know all of us have bins in Elmhurst, and we put our recycling in, which is a really good thing. But you can also just reuse things in your house. So what I sent a link to your families is a sun catcher. So I took a bottle, a plastic bottle, and I took off the label, and then I took some markers, and you can color the whole thing all the way down, and you don't have to color it in stripes like I did. But then I cut off the bottom of it, and your families can help you do that. And then I just started from the bottom, and I just started cutting kind of in a spiral. And what I'm doing is I'm just cutting kind of at an angle, and I'm going to go all the way up like that. And then I have some thread, and I'm not gonna do this right now, but you can find like thread or some fishing line or something, and you just tie it around, or you can just even wrap it around the top here. And then, hang on, wrap it around the top, and then you can actually put the cap back on it, and it'll secure it. And you can cut this off, and then you can hang it in your house by a window, or you could hang it outside. Kind of a cool decoration. So that's a way that you can recycle. let's see, I think that's it. So those are some ways that you can reduce, reuse, and recycle. And then also I put a video on our email today about climate change too, and it's a video about climate change. And these things, the reduce, reuse, and recycle, are things that we can do to help slow down and try and take care of climate change. So you can watch the video. It's actually by a kid that did a lot of research on climate change, and so then you'll know, because that's something that we are going to have to find some solutions to in your lifetime, and maybe you can be one of those people to help figure out what to do. I have a lot of hope. I know you guys are gonna do it. Okay, so that is L Day today. Bye, friends.